Have you ever had a fight with your best friend? That awkward space where things just aren't the same? Maybe it's a misunderstanding or the trust got broken. Those broken connections can sting, right? Well, guess what? The Bible actually has a story about the very first broken relationship between humans and God. It happens right after Adam and Eve eat that mysterious fruit. So, what went wrong? And how did it affect them? And how is it relevant to us today? Hi, I'm Megan, and I am just a regular person using the Bible to navigate life struggles, search for meaning, and find healing and happiness. Do you remember that feeling of finally finding your true best friends? Those kind of friends that you can count on no matter what. I have searched for them high and low my entire life, and I finally found them as an adult, way into my 30s, and it felt pretty amazing. But you know how life goes, right? We hit a rough patch, and it was during an especially tough time for me in my life. Even the best friendships need work sometimes, and I am still working on healing and reconnecting from that really hard season. Well, the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis is kind of like that, but it's on a much bigger scale than Megan's life. God created this perfect world, and Adam and Eve were able to live in it. There was no fighting, no sadness, nothing but pure goodness and joy. But then things changed. They made a choice that had huge consequences, not just for them, but for all of us. The impact of their decision is still felt today, even thousands of years later. Let's read what happened. Genesis 3, verses 6 through 7. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves waist coverings. The woman listened to the whispered lies of a snake. That led her to eat from the one tree they were commanded not to. She gives some of the fruit to her husband, and he eats too. And immediately there is a reaction. This past spring, it's been rough for me, guys. I have been sick on and off with lots of different respiratory issues. And so on my second round of antibiotics, I started breaking out in hives, which has never happened to me before. The reaction was immediate, and it made me a miserable, itchy mess. On a much greater scale, the man and the woman had a reaction to their choice. Suddenly, like a tsunami, they felt awful. A weight on their hearts of shame and fear, and these are things that they had never known before. So just like the antibiotics and the itch rash cream didn't cure my problem, the fig leaves that they sewed together didn't erase their mistake. In verse 8, it says, "Now they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to the man and said to him, 'Where are you?'" The man and the woman have messed up big time. They have disobeyed God's one command for them, and they feel awful. Then they hear God coming to have their usual walk in the garden. They hide. This is like my youngest son. He runs to his bed and he hides under the covers when he's feeling sad or overwhelmed, or he knows that he made a wrong choice. Now, God already knew where they were, of course, but his question, "Where are you?" was like a gentle nudge for the man to consider his actions. Have you ever felt God ask that same question to you? Where are you? Maybe you strayed a little bit, or you were about to make a really bad decision. We all have those moments, right? We might try to ignore that feeling, but the man didn't. He did do the right thing in this instance. He answered God. It's a reminder that God is always there for us, even when we mess up. In verse 10, it says, "He said, 'I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid myself.' And he said, 'Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I commanded you not to eat?'" Again, God is asking the man questions. This is not because God didn't know the answer, but it's to help the man understand. God is called the Wonderful Counselor in the book of Isaiah 9, and rightfully so. A good therapist asks questions to guide you to find your own answers and to take responsibility for your choices and your actions. In Genesis and throughout the whole Bible, God does the same thing with the man and with all of us. He asks questions to help the man see things clearly and to take ownership of his choices. This reminds us that even when we mess up, God's love and guidance is always there, waiting for us to turn towards him. But in this instance, the man didn't take responsibility. First, he passes the buck to God, and then he passes it to the woman. He says in verse 12, the man said, "The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me some of the fruit of the tree, and I ate." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Maybe the man could have protected the woman. Maybe he could have offered more support and been there during the temptation. And the woman could have gone to God or even to her husband before she ate the fruit. It's really easy to point fingers, and they both do it. And it's easy for us to point fingers at them and other people too. But the bigger picture is that they both disobeyed God. Even after this messy situation, God doesn't abandon them. He confronts them, but not like an angry judge. He is a loving father who wants them to learn and grow. Their perfect connection with God was now broken, but the story doesn't end there. The Bible is full of stories of redemption, second chances, and God's unwavering love. Even though we all experience the ripple effects of the fall, we all have the chance to build strong and healthy relationships with God and with each other. Are you feeling slightly more hopeful than hiding in a fig leaf after making a bad choice? If you are, I would love for you to smash that like button so that others can find this video and it will encourage their faith too. Broken relationships can be incredibly painful, and this story of the man and the woman can really hit close to home. So, if you're struggling with a broken connection, here are some thoughts to ponder. What broken relationships are you carrying? I would encourage you to talk to God about your pain and your desires for healing. Journaling is something that can help you write down your thoughts, and it allows for you to be able to hear His voice in what He's telling you. What would true reconciliation in this relationship look like? Is it even possible? Think and imagine what you would need for that to happen. Pray about it and talk to God about it, and trust the guidance He gives you as you seek Him and read His Word. It's important to remember that forgiveness and reconciliation are not always tied together. You can forgive without fixing the relationship. If you think that's what your path is, ask God to guide you through the process of healing and forgiveness. Remember that you are loved and created with purpose, so keep seeking the joy and healing that is found in truth. Bye.